Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's good to have her back here. She is somebody that really taps into your mind, figures out what's going on in your life. With your permission, you do it together and really chart your course for the future. She's a master alchemist. Of course, she does hypnotherapy as part of that. And this is Walking Between the Raindrops. And she is Debbie Unterman back on the program. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, and I'm excited that we have a guest here today named Michelle Ayers. When you see her name, it will be spelled a little different than everybody would think both of those words would be spelled. And I think we're going to have a really fun discussion.
And this is somebody who you've worked with before. Has she taken some classes from you as well?
The real interesting part is that she is a graduate from, we think, 1994. So what is that? 14, 30 years. That's,
Wow.
29 years. So then she did a refresher. She came back she wasn't quite an assistant, but she came back to kind of take it again, be part of a group I had that had too few people, so I had to invite some. So she got a good refresher on it and just had a session yesterday. So she's very refreshed right now.
Fresh. It's funny when you say 1994, I think, yeah, that was a while back. It doesn't sound that far back until you say
I know.
almost 30 years. And it's like, really? Wow. All right. That was a long time ago. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Yeah, somewhere in there, I think I'm missing a decade in my brain. It seems like maybe 20.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Well, shall we bring her in?
Hey, let's get
Uh,
her in on the discussion.
All
So I
right.
can talk about her in front of her instead of behind her back.
Yeah, where did she go? Let's see.
Oh, this worked very easily when we practiced it.
Um,
I see that she's muted. I don't know if you have her muted. I
there
see
we
she's
go.
unmuted, and there she
Come
is,
on in,
Michelle.
Michelle. Welcome. How are
Hi,
you?
good, thank you.
Good to have you here. You're in just outside of the Atlanta area, and a student, I would say, of Debbie's from back in the day.
Yes.
But a
A grad. Yeah.
graduate.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
before we dig in here, when we say graduate of, what are we referring to, Debbie?
So back in the 90s, when Michelle first took the class, there was only 100 hours required. The requirements have gotten more stringent. There's now 200 hours required. She retook my 100 hours, and she has since, over the last few months, taken another course, another 200 or 300 hour course, just recently. So her brain is filled with all sorts of both alchemy, alchemical hypnotherapy, and other kinds of hypnotherapy, so she could renew her certification.
Hmm. Before we even dig in, I'm super curious, Michelle.
Mhm.
When you take these classes and even most recently took the course, do
Mhm.
you realize things in yourself that you didn't realize previously? I mean, you've been down this road and all of that, but do things pop up in your head that, wow, I didn't even realize that. I thought I might have by now.
Absolutely, and that's what I think Debs and I were talking about it earlier, because we did have a session yesterday, and I was saying, I'm so seasoned. I have known about this. I have believed this. I've done this work for many years, right? And it feels like a lifetime, but I've held so many of just, and I'm still impressed. I'm still amazed at what will surface from the subconscious. It's like we're continuously a work in progress. And that's what I told Debs. I said, really and truly, as long as we're here on the planet, we're still working on it.
Oh,
So, yeah.
what a world this would be if all of us realized what's going on in our subconscious and we're able to take care of it in short time. I'm perfect world here, perfect world, but what a difference we would all be, um, spiritually, emotionally, and just, there for each other. Uh, so where do we start, Debbie? Where do you want to go?
Good question. I wanted to really, the idea I first had was to kind of do a refresh on the everything's perfect 10 steps to realizing it. And when Michelle and I were kind of thinking, well, which step did we really do here? I see it more as a circle, a holistic, you keep circling back and spiraling through it. And maybe you skip one step, like empowering, empowering yourself. Can you just have a session and be empowered? Well, I think it takes a little bit more than that, but it's a ladder toward empowerment. So I wanted to just kind of talk really quickly about, how the steps are very holistic, that you go within so you can face it, right? That's number 2, to face what is inside. And now with your eyes closed, you're facing the reality of what's really going on, because sometimes we lie to ourselves, right? We have to feel our feelings. If we only think about things, we're ignoring. And Steve, this is something that you have asked me over and over. How do you know about your intuition? Well, I was just listening to one of what I would call my teachers, not that I had her in a course, but I've read some books, Carolyn Mace. I even talk about her a lot in my book on guides, because she talks about spiritual madness, and that is like us thinking that we can control everything when we're completely out of control. And, in most ways, we've talked about that. I know you have a line like, you never know what'll be around the corner.
Yes.
So she's saying that it's almost like an instinct to have intuition. And I'm thinking about, she says, you're always getting information. It's constantly cycling through you as you, like, you might know about penduluming or muscle testing, Well, one way you can know if something is for you or against you, because the world is really, what's that called? Duality, the zeros and the ones of computers. Everything is binary. Yep. Everything is binary. It's either yes or a no. So you can use your own body as the pendulum. And if you say something like a person's name or a food, and if you go forward, it's a yes. Your body's saying yes. If you go backward, your body is saying no. Things are that simple. And I think about sometimes.
I've tried.
Did it work? Did you lie to yourself?
Sort of. And it's to get the baseline. You say your name, obviously, that's true, and see which way you sway, and then hit it up with a false statement and see if you go in the opposite direction. I've tried it. I think it works, but I feel like I'm not so in tune with it.
Okay. You can think you're lying to yourself or you're making it up, but I'm talking about the kind of feedback we get every second. Like if you're about to eat a food,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if I'm about to eat like a sweet, something that's too sugary and really not good for myself, I start feeling that, I don't know if it's an allergy, I kind of get itchy in my ears. Start feeling it before I eat the food. So intuition and, feeling your feelings, we're really lying if we're not feeling our feelings, because they're always speaking to us through illnesses, through pains, through, stubbing your toe. I mean, it's the universe talking back to you all the time. So I'd say feeling your feelings.
Can I share something personal?
Part of that. Yeah.
Did I tell you about the trip I was going to take? Next week.
No, I didn't know. We're not going to miss you next week? No.
No, I'm not going. So next week,
Oh.
I was planning to go to Japan with my son. He loves the culture, and we planned it since December. And there was one small reason why, I probably shouldn't go, but not enough of a reason to not go. And I marinated on that, meditated on that, and I got something that just says, not the time, you're not supposed to go now.
Oh.
I actually canceled it. And I said, he's disappointed, but I said, listen, we are going end of the summer. Well, maybe we'll go then. We're going to reschedule this. And that's all I had. And
So you listen to your intuition, you don't even know why, but you got a bad feeling.
every single time, like just a heavy, uncomfortable, almost upset stomach kind of
Excellent.
feel. And I don't know why, but
Beautiful.
I just didn't, and anytime I've ever gone against my gut feeling, intuition, whatever, I've been dreadfully wrong. So this time I was like, I'm going with it. That's what it is. And I tried to dissect in between it. It's a long flight and all of that. But it still came back the same way. So, I'll go, but not this time. Not this time.
So let me bring Michelle in, because those first three, and that's all we really got to, was go within, face it, feel your feelings. Can you explain how a session brings you into those so dramatically?
Into your feelings?
No, all three of those: to go within, to
Yes.
face it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because these are critical pieces, or there won't be any healing or insight moments, or anything that will bring you a gift from the whole experience. So going within is simply that. It is an induction. So it's similar to prayer, it's similar to meditation, but there's an induction. So Debbie, the therapist, okay, and I was the client or the co-therapist. And so she will say, close your eyes, and in a beautiful sing-song voice. She's a master at this work. So anyway, and I'm truly in awe and grateful to still be continuing to, she's my mentor. And so anyway, so go within. So, and I guess that's it. So you have to go there to tap the subconscious to see what is, what's there that is in need of healing, and so, and of course, that's where your feelings are too. So, and the fact that, and I say the facing it, having courage, man, if you just show up for a session, you've got courage. Okay. You know what I mean? If you're willing to say, hey, what is this? I would like to have this healed, or I need peace around this, or if you're just searching that, you're facing it. So the feelings, that's the big piece, right? And it's my mantra, and it has been for a million years. And because and we go in and out of spaces and places of ways to avoid feeling, and right, and so, but eventually it catches up, and just acknowledging it and giving and honoring those feelings, because here's the truth about feelings. This is just my sentiment: they come and they go. And just like, wow, okay. If you ever seen a child, eating an ice cream cone, and it's like, then they're happy, they're so excited about eating the ice cream, and then you see the ice cream cone. I saw this in a book, I think it was, but it doesn't matter. The ice cream falls off the cone and they're crying, right? And then in the very next shot, it's like, smiling again. It's a feeling. Feelings they come and they go. So and sometimes, I get it, wrestling with the very painful ones, it's no fun, but the coolness is if you're willing to sit with and be with and express and feel some of the lower vibrational feelings, the ones, the maybe grief or anger or whatever those might be. Truthfully, you can tap joy and excitement, enthusiasm, passion, those the higher vibrational realm of things. You get to experience those too. And once you pulled the weeds out from the subconscious. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay, so Michelle, I wanted to ground it a little bit with the facing it, because we started our session without going within right away. We started with voices in your head, because if you have a barrage of voices all screaming at you, and what I said about you is it was a loop that's probably been keeping you up at night, and they've just been constantly talking to you. Mm-hmm. The facing it is, first of all, it was for you, it was a perfect example of what we call a conference room, where we talk to all those voices, because it was about, it's either a habit to break or a decision to make. And this was a decision to make. And so can you talk about just that was facing it, just coming up with the topic that we could let the voices talk about, was really for you starting to face it. Can you talk a little about that? Are you willing?
Absolutely. And Steve, this will speak to what you were asking the question about whether or not, you still find new things, even if you've done this, for a century, right? And it's like, absolutely. So then this is it. You can be, it's trickery. I call it trickery, and it's self-trickery. Okay. So it's like, because I know the language, because I know this dance, and I know all the rules and the ins and the outs and the protocols. Okay. I do a lot of trickery on myself. Okay. Well, I'm slickery too. Okay, so it takes someone really brilliant and someone very seasoned like Debbie, and that's why I love to do work with her, because she will get right in there and she does it gently and sweetly. Okay, and she doesn't nail me to the wall and crucify me. She's like, well, maybe we could just bring this in, and she kind of helps me identify all those voices. And this particular issue, I'm going to get really vulnerable here. This is I'm not sure I want to, but I will, just for the sake of look, I take it go big or go home. Okay. And so I have been married, and we're going on 20 years now. Okay. And so and I've lost myself in that relationship. Okay. I was just big and bold, and Michelle is just, my energy field is big. Okay. And which is and so is his. And we came together, and in many ways I thought, oh, we're this, like power couple or whatever. But anyway, I began to support him in his business, and I began to lose pieces of myself, and I didn't realize it. And so over time, so finally, and then the issues that go to the wayside, and you sweep it under the rug, and you don't address it, and you just go forward, and life happens, and all these different, we lost family members, and then COVID, and you weather all these storms together, and you're even more entrenched and enmeshed in all of it, right? And one day you wake up and you go, oh my God, where am I? Where are my dreams? Where's my passion? Where's my excitement? Where's Michelle in all of this? And sometimes it's easier to have, I think, a fantasy about leaving okay, than it is to really buckle down and let's do this together. Let's do these issues together, because I feel like we're on two different planets, right? And I've been trying to bridge that gap. And so for the last year, honestly, oh God, I hope he never listens to this, but I really, it wouldn't be new information. I certainly have shared it with him. But so yesterday with Debbie, put it right in the middle. Is this beautiful? This is really her mastery. This is the title of her book. Is Talking to Ourselves. Okay, all the different voices. She helps you. She puts them around a conference room table. Okay, and all I had to do was come up with, all the things that I think about this and him and us and all of that. We put them all around the table, and Debs, you might have to help me rein it in here.
Okay, the subject, like I said, just the facing it was just coming up, because it has to be a question that will bring up the voices. So she's kind of going around, and I'm going to say it. She came up with the statement of, really, should I stay or should I go? But we can't even make it, should I stay or should I go? We have to make it, should I stay as the question, or should I go as the question? Because we need to hear all the voices that would answer that question in yeah, or no. So you can take it now.
Okay, yeah, that was it. And I always hear that song, and I don't even know who sings it.
Steve would know. He's a DJ. Who sings it?
That's The Clash, and it was 1982, 83. I'm going to go 82.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so thank God for humor, right? So that was it, because and it actually took my breath once we wrote that in the middle of the mandala. It was like, because I've been running from it, and I'm not allowing myself to get an answer, even in meditation, and so it was really beneficial yesterday. It was profound, and I found pieces of me Uh-oh.
The word
I might have
peace
a feeling.
that you just said, that because I also like to symbolize. So if we have the issue, and it was, should I go? And the symbol, I said, what would, and she wasn't even in her subconscious mind. I said, shut your eyes, and what comes to you as something that would symbolize that? And she saw a peace sign. So yeah, it was pieces of her, but it was about having peace and finding me, her again. How can I find me? And through not only finding the voices, because there were lots of them, and I know she's going to get stuck in the weeds and we're going to run out of time. But what we ended up doing was we found a lot of the voices. Then I put her into a subconscious state and started with imagining yourself at a crossroads of seeing yourself 10 years from now, staying or going. And actually, it was the staying that gave her a beautiful vision. And from there, she did a lot of processing of all those people that she just lost. In fact, she only lost her only sister. She's already lost her mother and father and lost her only sister just 6 weeks ago. So, Steve, you've been talking about your mother a lot. And that's the place she's in right now, is of grief and being, the only one left in her family.
I get it. And I know we're talking about your story, but faced with the same thing, 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and
And
it was a go. It was
he
a go.
left.
And I don't need to get into the dynamics of it, but it is what it is. But yeah, so and dealing with that, and parts of that go back to subconscious and childhood, and not only me, but my soon-to-be ex, and there's issues there, and I know them. I've identified them. I'm not the expert, she is, but I figured them out, and I'm pretty confident as to where the derail was based on that. But that's that. So you're staying?
Well, for now.
Okay. All right.
But she got a very interesting last message, because she talked to all her dead relatives, right? Her mother, father, mother's sister, her favorite aunt, her own sister, and got information from all of them. And the ultimate statement that it ended with, that she was able to kind of tell herself, I believe, was, it's safe to create boundaries.
Right.
And ask for what she needs, because that's what really has happened. Is she started off, like she said, power couple, we're equal, and then his needs, his business became so big, it took her over, and she became so small. She's been encroached on and is afraid to ask for her life back. Loves him, but she needs her life back. And now the job begins, because now she really has to face it. She has to face that part of herself that asks and demands what she needs, and that will reach the place of empowerment.
I want to go back to what you saw, Michelle, in pieces, and that turned out to be a peace sign. How is that? And Debbie, the same. How is that connected?
I don't know. The subconscious speaks in images. Okay. And so that's it. And so when she asked me, it was like, all I saw was the circle, the mandala that we're, the conference room table. And then I just saw the peace sign, So, I mean, from what, back in the day, I don't even know if I saw a peace sign, but.
Yeah, no, I got it. Interesting.
But then that moved through my spirit too. And I was like, yeah, that's really what I want. I want peace. I am so tired of I don't need to tell you, because if you're going through it, God bless you. I get it. Okay. So it's
what's interesting, and it ended as a surprise.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, I talked to somebody shortly after that all went down, who's very intuitive, and he said to me, "You knew it was going to happen," and I'm like, "No, I really didn't." He goes, "You knew it was going to happen."
The higher part, yeah.
Inside, I kind of did, and things that were done that I discovered, I I always had a feeling of things here and there. And he was right. Because so my point here is it's inside you. You know the answer. You
It's
know, either you don't want to confront it, you're not listening to it, you've got things around you where you can't tune into it. But the answer's there. And apparently, for you, Michelle, you have the answer, at least the answer in the now.
yeah,
Right?
that's yeah. I just had to laugh when you asked me, if that was the case, what was that what I was going to do, and I realized that it's like my inner chicken answered you. Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
and so, but because we haven't addressed it yet, I just had the session, lots of ahas, slept on it. But I have to say, Debbie uses this technique, and there is the technique that is taught in alchemical hypnotherapy that is divine. Okay, if you ever need to just whatever, I'll let her talk about it. But you actually get to put that person in front of you and dialogue. Okay, and the beauty in that has been my experience even from 30 years ago when I dialogued with my dad. Then I got home from that weekend, and my dad called and told me exactly. I mean, he talked to me as though he had physically been present for that conversation.
Mhm.
So when my fella came in the door last night, the energy was shifted. It was like he knew, he heard. There was just something about it. We're still not yet here, okay? And so a lot of things really are in his court. And I'm really okay either way. I know that I will be, okay? But I did just
I'm going to jump in here and say something based on my experience. They're in
yeah,
your court. They're in your court because you need to love you.
you're right. I know.
And I know it's going to sound horrible to say this, but more than anybody else. And until you do, you,
Yeah,
that's what it is. You got
that's
to
it.
do that.
You're
And
so
I
right.
never put me first for 20 years. It was take care of everybody else, everybody else, everybody else. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what have I done?
yeah,
I'm miserable. I don't know why I'm miserable. Well, that's why. That's
right. Well,
but
when but you're so right, and yes, 1,000% yes. We wouldn't even be here at this juncture if I hadn't been experiencing that, because I came to this conclusion. I was like, you know what, baby, I don't even need your approval anymore. I felt it so strongly. It was like, this is about me loving me. This is about me accepting me. This is about me recognizing how much I bring to the table.
exactly.
And you're so freaking lucky. You have no idea.
And if you don't like it, get out of the way because I'm coming through. And that's not made in a disrespectful way. That's what we said in the beginning. Your boundary, putting the boundary up. This is me, and this is what I'm going to do. And yes, I'm going to take some time, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And
Yes.
I'm like, I'm sorry, sorry. That's the way it's going to be.
So when I say it's in your court, I mean that we've got to make some changes. And what's that going to look like? And are you willing to do that as well? Because we can't go with status quo, because it's not working for me. And quite frankly, I already know it's not working for him either.
Yep,
I mean, just by his behavior alone. So,
yep.
anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it does play out. But yesterday's session, and I recognize too, I'm super tender. I am freshly grieving. Okay. And I know that it's a real vulnerable place to be in right now. And I'm scared, and I'd be a liar to say otherwise. Okay. So I know better than to make a decision that's going to pull the rug right out from underneath me. I got to feel a little more stable.
Well, I look at it this way based on what you're saying is Debbie helped you hit the reset button on the computer,
Yes.
and you're the computer.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean that the programs and everything, the whole situation doesn't mean that it's going to work great after that. But at least you reset it, you rebooted, and let's see where we go with that. We might have to change out the hard drive, meaning might have to make some changes. So
No question, and I'm willing to do that
yeah,
process of overhaul for
you'll know.
sure.
You'll know.
So I know that we're probably getting, I know we started late, but we're probably
I'm
getting
afraid to look at
kind
the
of
clock.
close. Yeah, I know, but I have to say this, Steve, because you're not going to believe it. We already found out that what I'm teaching Aquarius solar eclipse is what you are learning. Well, guess what? Michelle is teaching Aquarius also, which is we're all bringing in the age of Aquarius, but it's also why after 20 years that she's going, I gotta do my purpose. I'm here for a purpose. I
Hmm.
can't wait anymore. Get this S together, and that is going to be a calling of her soul. And also one of the things that this year is being called is the year of recalibration. So you're right on what you're saying to her. Reboot, recalibrate. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
get your stuff done, because this is what you're here for. But the interesting thing is she got what she wanted 20 years ago because that was a relationship.
Yeah.
So she got what she was asking for then. She's a good manifester. Now it's time to manifest for Michelle and get what you need within the relationship.
Yep. Yep. And they say even too, every 5 years we reevaluate our lives and our whole situation. And I've studied this as well. We do that every 5 years. And then you ever hear the 7-year itch? Well,
yeah.
it takes 2 years to make a decision as to what you're going to do after those 5 years. And that's where the 7 come up. Because you don't make a rash decision. It's like, should I stay or should I go? It takes me 2 years to figure that out. And I'll bet if you started thinking back in your timeline there, you probably hit markers, because I did it and I got them in terms of that.
Thank you for that. I will be processing that. Yeah, I will. I will.
And I've heard every 9 years is a big one, like a big woof realization. But 5 is like we're always doing in 5 increments, and it not just relationships, just what am I doing here? What's going on here? But also relationships as well. Yeah, we're way out of time. No,
it was fun though, wasn't it?
Definitely. It felt like it went by in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
GoBeyondBeliefs.com is the website. Debbie is the woman. She can uncover everything.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.